Hey everybody, and welcome back to the TSG Bikecast. I'm your host Steve Tambersoff, and I hope you're all doing just swell and been finding time to throw a leg over your bike as the cold winter months are setting in. In this episode, I finish up my chat with Nick Bowman. We pick up the conversation when he joined the World Trail crew, where I first met him in 2014, and then onto the creation of his own trail business named Destination Trails. We finish up chatting about his home trails at Fox Creek that Nick has been involved in for decades. Just a bit of housekeeping before we get cracking into the episode. I've changed the name of the Instagram to the TSG Bikecast. I didn't want to have two Instagrams, and most of my meager 500 or so followers are riders anyway. So that stoked guy is no more on the Instagrams, but it lives on YouTube, where you can watch the second part of this episode if you aren't already. Segway, nailed it. Enjoy this episode that is named Nick Bowman, Bikes, Growth, and Red Tape. Enjoy!
But yeah, and I guess the thing that kept coming back to me was, like the whole reason I got into this whole game in the first place was because I loved being on the trail, and at Imber there, I was just flying around everywhere and watching everyone else build trails and have fun.
You're being a bureaucrat almost, pretty much.
Well, yeah, and I get to do all the, the tough meetings and the paperwork, and then and as I said, which is not my strong point and definitely not my passion. So it's like, I just had that real strong feeling, like get back to your roots, get back to where it belong and where you belong kind of thing, which is out in the bush,
Absolutely, man.
And that's where I started thinking about, putting my hand up for World Trail. And I'd already learned a little bit about what was going to happen in Derby through Imber, Australia. And it just sounded like such a cool project to me.
Oh, absolutely. So that was like 2014, wasn't it, when you came onto World Trail? I think when did we meet? It was at Atherton Tablelands.
Yeah.
It was around the same time
right.
we're building the World Cup stuff in Cairns and everything, right?
Yeah, I think it was off the back of that. You guys had finished that stuff, and you guys would. I think you guys were actually in Tasmania.
Yeah, we were just starting out there doing the first ground truthing,
and the stuff was just kicking off at Atherton again.
Yeah.
Which was pretty interesting process as well. And so I jumped in the deep end at 40 years of age, straight out on the trail crew, and I think Matt Ziegler and Rowan smashed me pretty hardcore. I think what was the other fella's name?
It was Tommy Tumbles. Tom Emrys Evans, I think, was with us as well back then.
Yeah, he might have been still down with you in Tassie.
Yeah, he might have been. Yeah,
the other digger driver, Evan.
Evan
right.
Winton. Yeah,
Evan, he's a cool cat. That was tough. As a 40-year-old guy going back onto the tools full time, and I guess that was really apparent. That straight away that World Trail were probably one of the hardest trail building crews that I'd ever seen. Like they were big days. And it was all solid. And no stone was left unturned, as you well know. And man. But I loved it. And did my best to step up and do the right thing for World Trail there. And I really appreciated them giving me that chance as well. And that was just magic, and look, full blessings and credit to my family too. My missus, Kelly, who let me go away and live my trail building dream.
Yeah, man.
for a while too,
You're in Tassie for a bit with us, weren't you? You're in Tassie for a while with us.
Yeah. I did 2 months down there. So, and that was just amazing, and I certainly hoped the family could have moved down, but it just kind of didn't work out. My little boy was going into school, and he had a bunch of mates from kindy, and it just felt right for the family to stay in Lobethal here. So it's a beautiful little community here. It's really nice. So and again, another tough decision, because that was probably one of the best jobs I've ever had. I loved it.
Yeah, me too. To be honest,
there were some tough days, hey, but
So
Yeah, man.
coming on to the Blue Derby project, especially in the early days that we were hanging around it, coming into Derby town for the first time when it was still pretty sleepy. And
Oh
what were your
man.
first thoughts coming from a trail advocacy point of view? You've seen a lot around the country. What were your first thoughts of Derby when you came into town? I don't want to tell you what mine were.
Yeah, look, and I can understand because, but you know, I'd kind of already been because I'd already been to Forest. You know, I'd already been to Melrose.
Mm-hmm.
I'd already heard about Fruita. Like I was already good mates with Troy. You know, Fruita was like a an old oil refinery. You know, Moab, which is rad. Moab was an old uranium mine. You know, like so I kind of already knew that, and it's almost like those places are the gems. You know, like the places nobody cares about where you can do what you want. And Derby just lined up, man, perfectly. Like, you know, I must admit, I thought I could hear banjos when I first came to town.
Yeah, they definitely didn't really like us at the pub at the start, that's for sure.
No, I was a little bit freaked out about Tasmanian culture. But yeah, I've been to some pretty interesting places since then as well, you know. But yeah, the you could just see the terrain was going to be sick, like,
yeah,
you know, and
absolutely.
Yeah, so that was my first kind of impressions. I was I had no idea what World Trail were going to do, but having seen what Glenn had done in other places, because they'd actually done a job while I was at Mitcham. They won the contract to build the four-cross track down there.
Okay.
As well as some other down, like sort of traversing trails, I guess, you know, like sort of flow trails, but it's pretty rocky country. So I'd seen what Glenn could do there, and I'd seen what he'd done at Stromlo and Forest and stuff. So I had no doubt that World Trail knew what they were doing when they had nominated that place as a destination. So
yeah, man. Like, you know, Reese and Ryan were really starting to come into their own styles at that point as well, and you can really tell the difference in their trail design at Derby as well. Like, you can see it, and even when you watch them both ride, you go, "Oh yeah, Ryan built that and Reese built that." You can just tell from their riding styles. But they were really starting to burgeon into pretty amazing trail digger operators, and we had a good solid young crew that had come off working a World Cup, and a lot of experience coming from Glenn's side of it, teaching us a whole bunch of stuff, and the whole thing about rock work, and which was so important down there. It was a tough place to build. It almost killed me a couple of times, that's for sure.
Oh man, yeah, and you should be proud, dude. There's some amazing stuff you created down there.
Yeah, it's definitely one of I like to hang my hat on that as well. Those early days.
Yeah, man, and I think, and also for me, sorry to sound like an old dinosaur again, but just watching, because I knew Reese actually worked at that first job in Mitcham, so I've got to know him now. I think he was pretty young, and just watching him grow up as a young man, and I don't know him that well, but he's a pretty reserved guy, as you know. But just watching that next generation come through, and I think working with Ryan and Reese, and also Evan to a degree there,
absolutely.
Like what those guys were doing blew my mind. Like I think still to this day they're probably some of the best trail builders I've ever seen or ever worked with. Like they were amazing on that digger, what they were doing. And so, and it just watching World Trail grow into that much bigger sort of, and watching you guys come in, and then watching young fella like Max Connor come in,
he's still there.
Like it's just a kid straight out of high school almost, like, and so, but I think what's also I saw at Derby is how much everyone's been learning over the years, like the way that the sport and the trails have evolved, and the bikes have forced us to evolve with the trails, and just to keep stepping up, and I just don't know where it's going to end. Like most of my work these days is on green and blue trails and pretty basic sort of urban stuff, but man, just how much we've learned in the last 10 years.
Absolutely. You know, it's funny. I listened to a podcast called Beyond the Tape. I don't know if you ever heard that before, but but Gary from Trailscapes was on there a little while back, and he was talking about the Wild Mercy trails and how they were designing climbs, but they found that the corners were too tight for e-bikes, so they made a climbing trail at Wild Mercy that was built pretty much designed around e-bikes, and making wider sweeping corners it can roll fast into. You don't have to pedal through. And I was just like, see, that's just another trail innovation. Like it's crazy when he was talking about it. And I've ridden a fair few e-bikes, and I agree. Like corners can be super tight. And if you try to pedal up a corner, you end up trying to ride it up the batter. So it's like, very smart on his part.
Sure.
Yeah. So man, so you're with us, for nearly a year. Was it a year or 2 years with World Trail? I can't remember. So long
it was only 14 months in the end.
14 months, yeah. So when you finished up, you went back home to Adelaide. Is that when the idea spawned to start your own trail business? So how did Destination Trails start?
Yeah. It's like desperation, mother of all invention kind of thing. And look, it was, what it's like. Derby in late May, early June was pretty full on.
Gross.
And wow. And I came home and licked my wounds for a little while and recovered, man. To be honest, my body was pretty sore. And my missus went back into full-time work, so I did part-time dad for a little while.
Yeah, nice.
And just trying to work out what to do next. And I already had a lot of contacts here and stuff in Adelaide. And look, it was almost like, in my mind, I didn't really have any other choice. I couldn't go back to working in local government, or I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So it was almost like, right, bite the bullet, get it going, and just build it from there. So and look, it's never been about the money for me. It's always been about doing what I'm passionate about, and being on the trail. So I've never had any visions about building a massive company or anything. It's just living the dream, living the lifestyle still. It's a lot more humble than doing all the cool stuff with World Trail or IMBA. But
hey man, you're still out there doing projects around the place, though.
You get to have fun, and you still get to build some nice stuff, and hopefully, I think, I'm really trying hard to share some of my knowledge. And pass on what I know, which, hopefully that works. But got a good crew now, and they're pretty into it. So just trying to have fun. And I guess that's sort of the play on words for me with Destination Trail. It's not so much about building destinations as it is, like enjoying just trying to remind myself to enjoy the journey.
Absolutely, man.
And it's sort of like my destination's kind of the trail. I'm back there again. Might as well enjoy myself. So, I don't have to click my head into that all the time. I might just be cleaning out drains, day after day in the little digger. But every day I'm there, I try to make it the best I possibly can, and try to make, and that's something I learned from you, man, and World Trail was, making that rock work pretty, like, making it not just a trail, but making it art, and taking so much pride in it. I sleep well at night knowing I've done the best I can on every little piece of trail I work on, So,
and I'm the same at Falls, man. I've just finished my Falls summer with Falls Creek, and I can't do rock work as fast as I used to, man, but it's like, I still put as much pride as I can into the work I do up there. Falls Creek is a tough beast to maintain, and it goes back to what we were speaking about earlier. Watching trails change over the seasons, and just watching Flowtown change since I worked on it with Ryan and Nathan Putten and all that crew. Tommy Tumbles. It's like it's just changed so much, and I try my utmost to keep that thing running. Like when COVID started, I spent 23 working days on my own hand building the top half. I busted my ass until they locked us all down. It was just like, if this thing's closed, I am just going to go for it. And I did say, and everyone noticed. Like I got all these really awesome messages the next summer going, "Holy shit, dude, the top half of Flowtown's running crazy." So
cool.
It's taking that pride.
Yeah, that's cool, man. And it is nice. I mean, sometimes getting the chance to work over some of the stuff you've done before and make it that little bit better, like, because the trail brain's on all the time. You notice the bits that that could be a bit better, or that could be a bit better. And
yeah. Like we just got a digger this summer, so that's been real handy. So I've just been rebuilding the bike park now and just upgrading it pretty much. So I'm really looking forward to next summer. Yeah,
I'm stoked to come and visit again sometime, man. I loved my last trip up there.
Yeah.
And I was hassling you. I went and did that Fainters ride. That was a big day out, but I loved it.
Man.
Just great.
And,
and look, I really hope all the stuff kicks off in that part of the world. I really want to see that Beechworth Yakin Downer stuff. That's a pretty cool idea.
Yep.
The stuff that's happening in Bright's awesome.
Yeah, we've got stuff happening now over in Midder, and then there's the Omeo trails, that Common Ground Trails picked up the contract for in Omeo. Yeah. That's all kicking off soon, so that's really rad.
Oh.
Forever growing, man. So I've got quite a large question actually about trails in general, and you've had your business now for a few years, right? So, to get any project off the ground is a huge task, and the amount of work that goes into it is just bonkers, as we both know, behind the scenes before a shovel or even a digger gets on the ground. Tell us how it sort of begins in the process that you have to take to look at something new. Like, I know you did some stuff. Where was it? In northern New South Wales recently. Where was that? What was that town called?
Kyogle.
I tried to go there on my way up at Christmas, but it rained my whole trip to Queensland, so I didn't get to ride anywhere.
It wasn't it? It was just crazy.
Yeah. So how do things like this get up off the ground? Because a lot of people don't really understand how the whole bike park process happens. So give us a brief explanation if you can.
Yeah. Look, I know I've stepped a little bit out of that advocacy side of stuff, but look, it always just starts with, sitting down and having a chat, whether it's over a cup of tea, a milkshake or whatever. Getting riders and land managers together, just trying to find, this is where Dave Wilcox was really smart, trying to find that common ground, and I guess that's where a lot of, that philosophy side of my thinking comes in, that, treat other people as you wish to be treated. Like, you don't win any points by being a hothead or shooting your mouth off or putting people down. So, I always try to see other people's point of view, and I think, put yourself in other people's shoes, and also, I respect nature, and so I think it's worthwhile seeing that side. I think it's hard for a lot of riders to understand just how much pressure there is on our little native Australian ecosystems. And it's really weird fact about Australians that we don't know our own plants and our own animals as well as we know everything from all over the world. So, I'm constantly tripping people out in the bush, just explaining to them what plants what and what we got to look after. And so I just got onto that because I think it's really important for bike riders to understand there are conservation concerns and things we need to do. And there are some no-go areas, like that's just the way it is, So I guess it's trying to find that way forward together, and it is a compromise to a degree, and just finding, and that's the first of all of it, just talking, and then if you can start to draw up some plans and get stuff on paper, if you get stuck, that's where you have to get political, and you start writing letters to your local council member or your local minister or parliamentary member. Sometimes you need that agitation to get stuff happening. And look, I had to take on that role sometimes at Bikecast, but also Imber Australia, put the pressure on kind of thing, and call people and hassle them. But and just constantly writing those emails, like whenever the council or whoever are asking for your feedback, put a submission in, make it positive, make it professional. And I guess that's also another angle for any business, whether you're in not-for-profit or whatever. But, be the person that people want to work with, like, it's just, and it's one of Troy Rarick's classic things, like we do business with people we want to hang out with, like you might, and again, enjoying the journey, so if you're, going the extra mile to accommodate the concerns of, environmental groups or the council or the risk management officer, then they'll keep working with you. And that's why all of my opportunities have really popped up, because they see that, I'm willing to listen and work with them. We don't agree on everything, but, we're always civil and respect each other, So that's really the essence of all of it. But at some point, you need to get a design and then start getting approvals and then finding the money.
Yeah, well, yeah. The whole grant application process is a whole other beast. Yeah,
man.
getting on top of that.
And it's not as hard as you think. You just got to answer all the questions properly and have, it certainly helps if you've got a good glossy plan, like, and that's one of the things that people don't understand about Derby. I'll use Derby again, but, I think it was 2007. Tasmania got their first mountain bike strategy out for the whole state. So that was like overarching, your umbrella document, if you like. But then they did, I think TRC did a business case study of Northeast Tas. Can't remember when it was, maybe 2009, 11, something like that. But having those two documents allowed Dorset Council, and you remember Tim?
Yeah, I remember Tim well.
Yeah, I mean, he's a key element of that whole process as well. That he helped drive that project and get that money. But by having those glossy documents in place, you can go hit those federal funding bodies over the head a bit and say, look, we've done our homework, we've got all the answers, we've planned it all out, we've budgeted everything. Can we have some money, please? So and it worked in that corner of Tas because they're trying to create employment opportunities and all that side of things too. So all the ducks aligned. But having that glossy document, that looks fancy is a key part of it all as well,
If I know anything about humans, we like shiny things. We're like magpies.
Pretty much, yeah.
So the last thing I wanted to chat about, man, is about Fox Creek. Because it's been your local trails, man. You've been involved with Fox Creek in many different forms over the years. I've got a few questions to ask you actually about it because a lot's happened there in the last sort of 20 odd years with it all. And you've been involved with the trail since 2002. So what was your history with the network? Was it like the early place you just started riding, or did you join a club there, or what was the go?
Well, Adelaide Mountain Bike Club and Inside Line, the downhill club, had sort of been racing up there since, 94, 95, something like that, scratching in tracks, that sort of thing. And some of it was Gary Patterson, Trailscapes, he was running Inside Line back then, or part of it. And so I'd been out to a couple of races and entered a couple of races here or there, sniffing out tracks and stuff and exploring. And then we were shuttling sort of late 90s and stuff on stuff that Inside Line and that had built. So it's just sort of, and I was still down in the city then. So it's about an hour from the city, really. So it was a bit of a mission to get out there. So I only really knew it as a ride area when I got the job at Bikecast. And then, so then it was sort of my project to help formalise those trails and build those relationships between the club and forestry, the clubs and forestry, and start to get signage in and rate the trails and do a couple of pilot projects with InberSpec stuff, so
that was all sort of the mid-2000s, wasn't it? What I was reading, there was a few government grants secured and everything, and it sort of took off. I think
that's when I fell in love with the place, it became a home away from home. And it was also when I was sort of going through that divorce period as well, I guess. And that's where I sort of ended up coining the term dirt therapy. Go dig. Like when I was digging, it sort of took my mind off everything. And just getting to make something positive, in this world. And sort of coming back to that idea, think globally, act locally. there's a lot of stuff I couldn't change, but I could at least make these trails good and make this place fun for people and, try to reduce the impact of mountain biking in other more sensitive areas and stuff like that. So
yeah, absolutely, man.
Just fell in love with the place, and the dirt up there is just amazing to work with, and maybe became a little bit obsessed with the place, really, like maybe too involved at times, but it's just been good to be part of it. And I guess through all those different roles while I was at Biker Say, and even while I was still at Mitcham and even at Imber Australia, I was always sort of getting brought back in there to provide advice and do stuff. And I was always sort of advocating for more access and new trails and things like that, and trying to support Forestry SA and managing the place. So it was sort of like, it was a bit blurred, whether I was working or volunteering, but we just it's just kind of, we never got the big funding, so everything just happened organically, and people like Andrew Moylan, and it took me 10 years to convince my mates the human projectiles to incorporate.
There was actually one of my questions was about the human projectiles, because they've been around forever around Adelaide, right? I think what did I read? They've been around since like 93 and been involved at Fox Creek forever. So it's like, what did you have to do to push them to incorporate? Like, did you give them a slab of beer or something?
Well, no, it just was years of pestering them, I suppose. But and that was a weird thing. I was off all around Australia doing other stuff, but nothing was still happening at our local, And a couple of the guys stepped up who saw the big picture about what I was talking about, and did all the paperwork to make it happen. And then just started going for little grants with the council and state government and stuff, and it just kept going. And I guess we offered something different. Instead of the clubs wanting to build race tracks, we were sort of coming at it with like flow trails and kids loops and like really introductory stuff that there wasn't much out there, and as soon as we started putting in those kids loops, well, the government people were super happy, but also with just all the local families and all the local kids just started frothing over the place too. So the whole demographic of the place started changing, and whereas when I first started going up there, it was really only city people, going for a ride mostly, and on weekends, to now it's like so important to the local towns here, so the right and the bike store here, Bicycle Fix, just watching that place grow as the whole riding community in my neighborhood here is just going gangbusters, it's mind-boggling. Awesome. Really,
Yeah, a lot of people talk about Fox Creek, and that's why I was quite interested in chatting to you about it. So in 2019, Australia was like sort of bushwhacked with bushfires, pretty hardcore. And, we were lucky out here in the high country. Bright got evacuated, but the trails weren't damaged anyway. But Fox Creek copped a bit of a shellacking. Tell us a bit about that, man.
Yeah, man, it got fully barbecued, just got cooked, like cindered. And look, it was always going to happen. It was one of these strange situations that it had been pine plantation. It was going back to native bush. And there was a lot of stuff, a lot of fuel load in there. And they couldn't burn off because it was just too bad, Every time they tried to do a burn off, they'd start some massive fire. So it kind of been left for a long time. And we're all just knew when it goes, it's really going to go. And it literally happened on the doorstep on the worst day you can imagine, 45 degrees, hot, like 100-degree winds kind of thing going on. Like 80k gusts and stuff. And it just went up, and it was pretty hot fire, so it's killed a lot of stuff. But you know what it's like, the Australian bush is bouncing back so quick.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You look out in the back areas out where I live and how fast it's come back, it's crazy.
So I guess it was a couple of things happened. I guess it was really sad to see it all happen. By default, I found myself in a role trying to, again, just calm the riding community down a little bit, because, the young lads and that were just itching to get straight back in there. I mean, we had crazy dudes going in there riding the tracks when there were still gum logs and tree roots on fire You know, like, dude,
Some in every
you're
group.
taking your lives in your hands, you know,
Yeah.
like yeah, it's one of those really sad things. But after the fire through here, I mean, Lobosville nearly got cooked. It was so lucky. You know, friends of ours lost their houses and stuff. But um, you know, like people come up like as tourists, like to see, you know, and it's just like, come on, man, really,
Yeah.
you know, like so. You know, and while they're still putting out fires, the mountain bike community are going, when can we get back in there? You know, it's like, come on, man. Everyone who's got anything to do with the place is like on red alert, trying to stop the whole state from burning down,
Yeah.
you know.
And you just want to go ride your bike. Yeah.
But so in a way, it kind of, you know, sort of was like the fire, you know, cleaned it all up in a way, cleaned up all the junk, but we lost a lot of signs and all that stuff. But the house that's there, we've had a lot of good parties at, still survived.
Oh,
the winery next door, you know,
yeah,
friends
that's
of ours,
good.
they survived, and that was a miraculous story on its own, you know.
So
yeah,
what
good,
steps were taken like afterwards to like reinstate the trails? I know work's still going on there now and a lot of stuff has been reopened, but what were sort of steps by council and the forestry to try and reinstate any of the lost trail to get it back open again?
Well, yeah, it's just watching that whole process. Forestry got new management. My friend and mentor Andrew Moyler moved on, so forestry got new management. They're pretty switched on, pretty good people, and but forestry don't have any way to sort of deal with that people and there was still pine in there that they could harvest. So some of the first thing that happened is the state government offered $10,000 grants to any sporting clubs affected by the fires. So we sort of got all the mountain bike clubs, which is 4 or 5 now, and well, including Bikers, to go for that grant. So the clubs got together, thanks to the state government. So one of the first things they did is get me to do an audit. So I literally got to, you know, after the army had been through there and some of the other people got to go check out all the trails and see how they're holding up and document it all, so we knew what we had to do. But yeah, the money was spent on other little bits and pieces here and there, but essentially forestry just closed the place. As trail builders, we've literally only just gone back in this last April. There was talk about getting us in earlier, but thanks to the activities of certain not very bright people doing the wrong thing, yeah, they just kicked everyone out, and we haven't been allowed in there. So that's been a bit of a disaster because all the weeds, you know, the thing that happened after the fire is we had big rains and then all the soot slid down onto the trails, and now the weeds and blackberries have gone mental.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so it's just the regrowth is out of control, you know, in a lot of places. So it's a really big, horrible job to get stuff back open again. And it's underway. We've had a couple of big volunteer days, which has been good, and clubs doing plenty of stuff as well. So it's all going in the right direction.
Yeah, it's just a slow process, I suppose, man. And totally. It sucks what's happened to it. You know, it's got such a long history and so much, you know, local volunteer hours gone into the bike park, and for it to go up like that is just a bloody shame, really. And,
it's a good chance to do things better. So, everyone, we need toilets out there. It's just ridiculous. So, you know, we're going to get those finally. And
they're building a new car park or something as well. And
they've got a new shuttle drop-off point, which is awesome. We've been hoping to get that happening for 10 years. But everything's getting fixed up, you know, and I'm sort of a small fish now in that process. I'm just a contractor, but they've got a panel of contractors, and they're just sort of going to, from what I understand, they're going to just get different contractors to do different trails, and hopefully there's new stuff coming up in the future, but most of it's just going to be fixing up the existing stuff at the moment.
Yeah, cool. That's so awesome, man. You know, through crisis comes opportunity sometimes, right? So
definitely. Yeah,
man. Yeah, oh man, that's so rad. I hope Fox Freak gets cracking before I get down to South Australia next summer to go riding.
Sure.
Yeah. And everywhere else that I want to ride down there. So man, we've done it. We've done all the questions.
Awesome.
We
Thank
did it.
you.
So thanks so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate you giving up some time after digging all day and
Yeah, no worries.
hanging
No,
out, man. It's been really good to talk to you. So before we finish, generally, I just say, what are all your socials and stuff that you want to put out there? What can people follow? Where can people see Destination Trails?
Oh, social media these days. Oh, golly.
Mate.
Yes.
All us young people on the social medias and the TikToks and
yeah, look, we're on Instagram. I think it's at Destination Trails Australia. Yep. There's a couple of little underscores in that.
and there's a website as well, right?
Yep. And that's Destination-Trails. On Facebook too. I'm struggling to keep up with Facebook sometimes, so we just sort of share that around a bit.
Yep.
But that's the gist of it. Got a cool thing going on the website that my people did for us, that my Instagram feed sends back pictures to my website, so the website stays fresh without too much effort. So that's pretty cool.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, thanks to my guys, SEO Web Creative, for doing that one. You guys,
yeah, nice. That's really awesome, man. That's sick. And you can find me at That Stoat Guy on Instagram, where I promote every episode that I do. And you can find the podcast on Instagram. And we're now on YouTube. Hey, this is the first YouTube episode. And so that's That Stoat Guy as well. Come and check out the podcast videos with mine and Nick's handsome faces on it, and all the other crazy, silly shit that I do on YouTube, sim racing and bikes and drones and all the other crap. So anyway, that's it for another week. Thanks again, Nick, for coming on, my man. Appreciate it a lot, and we'll see you all next time.
Thanks for having us. Cheers.